right now. A very good afternoon to you, Louise, first of all.
Good afternoon.
I know a lot to take in following the release of the fixture list finally. Thanks for taking time out to join us. What's your initial reaction? Obviously, Chester, one of those tracks that's going to have to move a few things around, in particular that week in July.
We've been living with this for some time, so it's not necessarily news to us. We've had to work over the last few months to make sure that the impact on Chester is minimised as much as possible. And it's been tricky. We're not a large group. We just have 3 race courses in the group, and each one of them is impacted, but each one of them is participating in the trial. And we've done what we can to minimise the impact. And now we will see what the impact actually is and what lessons we can learn from the trial so that we can all work together, as we have done in developing this programme, to see if we can shift the dial on some of the numbers for British racing.
Yes, as you say, 3 race courses that are under the umbrella of Chester Race Company. Obviously, impact of terms of moving these fixtures is one thing, isn't it? Obviously, the costs of doing that, impact on prize money, etc. First of all, that July Cup week, I think, isn't it, when you normally used to race Chester, I think it was the Friday and Saturday afternoon. I think both of those are now later starts.
Yes, so the Friday was a decision we've made, but just through moving around in the group. The Saturday has changed its start time to later in the day, which is a concern to us. We've got a very local audience for the majority of our race days. They've got very ingrained patterns of visitation of our racecourse, and because of our proximity to the city, it's not really Chester Racecourse that's hosting racegoers, it's the entire city. So we have to think about the impact on them, as well as the financial and operational impact on our team and our business. So it's more complicated for us. We also race on a lot of Saturdays, so the impact of decongesting Saturdays was always going to have a greater impact on us. We're not the only impacted racecourse. There are several, and I'm sure the Jockey Club is impacted too. So it's about trying to minimise the impact and trying to find where the upside will be in this trial.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? As you say, you have sort of that local group of racegoers, don't you? Obviously, footfall, very important to Chester in terms of bringing in revenue, etc. And, you know, people might not be as keen, perhaps, to go racing on a Saturday night as they are on a Saturday afternoon.
Well, we'll find out, won't we? And we'll have to do research to make sure we understand how our guests are feeling about the change in time. You could argue it both ways. You could argue that people are leading extremely busy lives. Freeing up part of their Saturday means that they can get the kids to football and then come racing in the afternoon. You know, all of those jobs that you need to get done on a Saturday can get done, and you can still enjoy your racing, and that might suit some people. But likewise, we've got people for which the whole day is a social occasion, and we don't know how it's going to impact how they organise their time, whether they'll shift onto other fixtures that suit their time, or whether we will attract a new audience. It is a great unknown because we don't have the attitudinal consumer data to tell us how our guests or guests and audiences in racing feel about that. What we have is data that says decongesting Saturdays will help with gaming revenue. It will decongest television coverage if other jurisdictions don't jump in the gap. So there's a lot of unknowns, hence it's a 2-year trial. And I think, as you'll see, the BHA have said it will be monitored closely, and obviously racecourses will be monitoring it. We certainly will, the RCA will, and so will the BHA. And we need to find out what works, what doesn't work, if what we're doing is just shifting things around and there is no overall upside. But there could be, and therefore racing has worked together to try to come up with a programme that I think is the most significant shift in the programme for many years.
It is, and as you say, it is kind of a journey into the unknown for many of us who work in the industry. We're not sure how it's going to sort of pan out, but plans to adapt. I did read that you bought 2 extra fixtures to try and sort of compensate.
So we own 12 of our fixtures. 3 were leasehold fixtures from the BHA. And of course, one of the levers that the BHA has in terms of reducing the amount of racing is to award less of those leasehold fixtures. So in order to maintain 15 race days at Chester, we have bought 2 fixtures, which is something that we've been looking to do for some time. This has been the catalyst to do that. We've worked to swap some of our fixtures around in group. We've worked with other groups to buy and swap fixtures as well to get a workable programme for Chester, but that still means we're participating in the trial. So we'll have one Saturday that starts at racing at 4 o'clock or later. So we will look at how we organise that day to produce a great race day experience, how we get people to the track, communicate what's on offer, and just sell it as a slightly different kind of race day. But we know it's a difficult time to race for a track that is dependent on a large audience. It will have implications for the city. We know from talking to other race courses that the hospitality offer can be difficult to. It's not quite lunch, it's not quite dinner. You really do have to play around with the offer. And if that's what's required, then Chester is known as an innovative racecourse. We have lots of plans to do that. And I think it will appeal to some people. It's just whether it appeals to the volume of people that Chester needs to sustain its business model. You know, we have a lot of buildings we have to maintain, and it takes a lot of staff. And I think people look at race courses and think they're just money-making machines, but they're also money-spending machines. So, you know, that income from audiences and our guests has allowed us to invest and maintain levels of prize money. It's allowed us to invest in owners and trainers facility that are amongst the best, if not the best, in the country, as well as in the guest experience. So it's a total package that benefits both the participants of racing and the horses, the jockeys, etc., as well as our guests. And that money gets recycled and invested in the buildings and the offer. And if we damage that, then and we reduce the number of attendees, there's a ceiling on the prices we can offer, and there's less money going in, and there's very few places you can cut. So it is a little bit of a journey into the unknown. There are obviously mechanisms that we can trial along the way, but it is a trial, and it hasn't been easy getting here, and it has been fraught, and we have been very public about the impact on Chester and our group, because it was looking at the start of the year until we were able to make some manoeuvres when the programme looked like it was going in that direction. So we've done what we can. We will continue to do what we can for our racegoers and the participants in racing, including the media, to produce great race days for the gaming, for attendance on racecourses, and for TV audiences at home.
Yeah. A lot to look at, a lot to get through. Louise, many thanks for your time this morning. Thanks for your reaction, and I hope it goes well in 2024. Many thanks.